They're on.
On.
They're on. You can hear me.
Mr. Bento? Mrs. Durfee?
Here.
Ms. Janik? Mr. Mello?
Here.
Mr. Souza?
Here.
Ms. Epke?
Here.
Mrs. Cook?
Here.
Mrs. Odell?
Here.
And Mrs. Driggs?
Here.
Absent Mr. Leonard and Alex.
I gave mine away. I did. I made all the copies. But everybody needed it, so keep one for myself. Mr. Rohr, Mr. Fiore, welcome. Welcome. Thank you. Look forward to hearing your budget presentation. Chair of the school committee is hiding it behind you, but welcome, Mrs. Black. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, normally, what we've done in the past is we presented the highlights of the budget and then take questions from the committee regarding anything that's in the budget. This year, the school committee is proposing a budget of $29,582,126, which represents a 1% increase from the previous year. The committee also has indicated that there are $268,670 needed for capital improvements. The committee voted at their last meeting to pay for those items out of the general fund, our carry-forward fund, as we did, our fund balance, as we did last year. And all the items, the vast majority of the items in that amount, which are in the PowerPoint presentation, come out of our facility study report, which the committee hired an outside company, RGB architectural firm from Providence, to come down and study the high school and the middle school. And the school committee earmarked that amount of money for the smaller items that are in the facilities report that need to be done. The school committee is scheduled to begin hearing from the facilities subcommittee, which took the report and then prioritized all the health and safety issues that the outside firm also said were important. But then we went through it a second time, and we're going to be going over those recommendations with the school committee. At some point, we will need to meet with the budget committee and the council once the school committee has prioritized these bigger issues, because the costs are significant for many of these items. But right now, we're still at the stage of identifying those primary health and safety issues that were brought out in the study.
Excuse me, is there a financial floor for capital requests?
No.
Will it have to be over $10,000 and...
No, not for
items that last more than a year?
Not for health and safety.
Okay.
If they're health and safety, the state still is issuing 40% reimbursement to communities.
Okay.
We have a department policy that we capitalize anything over 10,000. That might be what you're referring to. So a lot of the items that show up on our capital list may not meet that threshold, so we'll expense them, but we just classify them as one of the capital expenditures. They're not
Fine.
real.
So would that be things like the 53, the items in the 50,000 for the emergency lighting?
That would be one issue. That's one item, emergency lighting. Yes, but that would be an example.
Can I interrupt again also? Do you have a timeline or an expectation when you want to sit down with the council? Budget committee? Is it
The committee,
Is it June? Is it November? Is it?
it would probably be late spring, once the school committee, because it's really a separate meeting, because it's not the budget per se, it's, here are these issues that we have to deal with regarding health and safety, and how we're going to pay for them. And we need the budget committee at the table, we need the town council at the table, we need to explain to both the budget committee and the council what these items are. And that's kind of what we're doing with the school committee. We're walking the committee through it again. Here are the different issues. do you agree with the subcommittee? If not, they'll move the pieces around, and then once that's done, we'll submit our proposal to RIDE. So we'll have our plan on file up at RIDE. So when things do get approved, RIDE has to approve our plan, but once they approve it, then whatever work is done, then the reimbursement comes back to the town. Okay, so that's it. So the timeline is, the next step is after the school committee goes through the recommendations from the subcommittee, we're probably looking at late spring. Okay. And then I'll just go through some of the highlights. Mr. Souza was nice enough to send us some questions regarding the different accounts, and if the chair doesn't mind, I'll just highlight each one, and then if there are any questions with what I highlighted, and maybe there's something else in there that members have questions, or all members have questions about, we'd be happy to answer them. First of all, our budget, as I talked about, the increase represents a 1% increase. But some items of note, the first are regular salaries. Our salary line items only going up 1.6%. The second item, professional days. The reason for that increase is that we've asked for...
Hold on one second. If you look at the back of your packet, you'll see the line item.
The last three pages, and I'm on page 1 of the 3. I apologize for pointing that out. The professional days line item increased by $89,000 is because the school committee, we're in current negotiations with all three of our unions, but one of the areas that we feel we need to support our teachers in is in professional development, and that represents an additional professional development day. Currently, we have 2 in the budget. This would represent a third. The next item would be 52,101, which is health and medical premiums. That increased by 3.9%. And I'll have Mr. Fiore speak, to some of these finer points here.
I'm sorry, what number was that?
That's 52101, health and medical premiums.
The first line of benefits.
Right below under personnel services.
That's a big variable every year that we have in the budget, mainly because we don't have the renewal rate for the subsequent year yet. So what we typically do is we use a historical average, and what the historical average has been for health insurance increases is 8%. So we built an 8% increase over our current rates. The reason we don't see that, and we see a 3.9% increase, is because we have some staff reductions in the salary line, which has eliminated the need to carry some health insurance policies. And more importantly, we have a significant reduction in our retiree health insurance. We don't have as many retirees as we did a few years ago. So as they reach 65 and go to Medicare, we're not replacing them in the same amount. So we've recouped some savings by having less retirees on our benefit plan. So that explains why we're not at the full 8% we've estimated.
Can I just stick on that topic
Sure.
for a minute? So that's in the teachers' contracts and the administrators' contracts, that the benefits, the health benefits go to 65, and then at
Correct.
65 you move to Medicare?
That's correct.
That's if they're still employees, they're still on the health care plan, but if they've retired...
Right.
Yeah, once they retire and hit 65, they go to Medicare.
Okay.
The next item is the teacher pension. I'm sorry, Laura, I apologize.
Last year, and it's really a cog to me, and I never quite understood it last year, but it seems to me we got a considerable, both the municipal side and the school side got...
The dividend. The dividend.
The rate actually, there were 2 very favorable things that happened last year. Our rate actually went down when we were re-rated, and we actually had a credit refund. So those 2 components, which probably, well, it's never happened before, I don't know if it'll happen again, but we're not counting on any sort of favorability. And one of the main reasons I'm not is we're privy to the rates as the expenses come in during the year. We can see how we're running against the premiums, and we're pretty close. So that normally means you're going to be pretty close to your historical average when you renew your health insurance. If you see you're running at 90% of your premiums, then you know there's some favorability in there, and you may get a lower rate than 8%. Or conversely, if you're running at 110% of your premiums, there's going to be a negative impact on your renewal rate.
Okay.
Why did the reduction happen last year?
What it means is when they gave us the rate, it was higher than what was actually necessary, so we adjust for it in a subsequent period.
Okay. The next would be teacher pensions, 52,203. They're projected to go up 6.8%. And while that may seem high, in years past, prior to pension reform, we were getting double-digit increases. The MERS pension, which is our Council 94, our non-certified staff, is going down 27.1%, which is account 52,208. And then we have a second pension fund with the pension reform came TIA-CREF, which is for the teacher portion is 3.5% increase, and for the non-certified it's a 0.6. So that's another reason for why our budget is so favorable this year, is that these are historically one of our bigger drivers, and this is really the second year in a row we've gotten favorable projections regarding our pension costs.
Yeah, I was just looking at last year's increase, projected increase was 57,342. So this is double that amount.
And we follow the state rate, there's not a lot of subjectivity on our part. We just, the rate the state sends out the new rate, and we compare it against our salaries and are able to figure out what our estimated pension costs are. The unusual thing is, we have an increase on the teacher side, the non-certified side, you actually see it going down, some MERS pension, so hopefully that's a good omen for when we're looking at the municipal side of the budget, because we're in the same plane, and that should also show a decrease.
So you have, you get numbers from the state for the TIA-CREF?
And that's another component of it.
Yes.
In addition to those two plans, we get the TIA-CREF rates.
Right.
For both teachers and for non-certified.
Right. But these aren't, and when do those final numbers come in?
We actually have those already, so those are real, there's no change.
Okay. But the MERS might change a...
No, not all the MERS. The TIA-CREF and the two pension are good.
We're confident on those.
Okay.
The next item is towards the middle third, and it's unemployment insurance, account 52,501. That's going up significantly because in this year's budget, we're laying off 5 full-time employees, and we needed to account for that for unemployment benefits. So while we save, on health care, as Mr. Fiore mentioned, in salaries, we have to make up for that cost that we'll experience as a result of the layoffs. The next...
How long do they get that for?
A year, I believe, the unemployment.
We're both in 26 weeks.
Half a year. The next item is at the very bottom of the page is curriculum development, and it's noteworthy because it's a significant decrease. Last year, as part of this year's budget, as part of our ramp up to the shift to the Common Core standards and the park assessments, we had to spend a lot of money on professional development training, one-time expenses for areas of math and ELA. This year, for our projected budget, we're planning on going back to our old rate of spending, so that's why you see that decrease from this year's budget to next year's budget. The same goes for, and I just turn the page to page 2, and I'm at the very top, legal services. That went down, that's based on what we're actually spending. So our expenses, we've really had a favorable year the past year and a half with our legal expenses. We feel that this could fluctuate if we run into trouble with our contracts, if we have to go to arbitration or mediation, but we're hopeful that that won't happen, so we're pretty confident in the number that we've presented. The compliance, the next line item is 53,404, and then I want to call your attention to right below it, 53,410. Under the code and Unified Chart of Accounts, every year they change how you have to account for certain things. And the compliance officer, if you see it's listed for 50,400 and then 0 for next year, but then you notice it's picked up in 53,410 at 54,432. That's simply because we have to move, that's our school resource officer. We pay 70% of the salary or the expenses for the police officer who serves as our SRO. So that's what that is.
And as you mentioned in past years, we've worked in the escalator, so we stay in conjunction with the town's cost as well.
Bravo.
Hence the increase.
So that is,
What line item is that, Bill?
There's two of them. There's 53404 compliance. And then if you skip two down to police and fire details, that's the SRO being reaccounted for. Okay, so we've complied with the e-color. So it's not a new expense, it's just a different line item to put it in.
and the school resource officer, is that in the same officer as,
We've been fortunate, it has been for the last, 3 years? It's 2 to 3. It's at least 2 years, maybe 3 years, but yes.
And we can use that position for compliance as well. It's just, for truancy, residency issues.
okay, great. And has that been as beneficial as we all thought it would be?
More so.
More so.
I wish we had funds for another one. Mr. Officer Black does an outstanding job working with the students, the staff, and our families. I just wish we had more resources to put towards it.
Great.
Okay, let's see here. Web-based programs, 53322. That represents our online,
You lost me, 53?
I believe it's 53322.
What about 534? Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
Also with that.
Am I right about that? Or did I misread it? Might be my writing, I apologize. Hold on 1 second.
Curriculum development.
I'll just go down my list of highlighted ones and we'll take it from there. We'll find it. Non-technology related maintenance, Doug, do you want to explain that in 54310?
54310.
54310.
We have an increase in 54310 of 16,000. Our old boilers, which are significantly aged, are now required to have EPA tune-ups, and we put the expense for that in this line item. So that's a mandate that we haven't done in the past that we needed to account for. And this is the first year that we've had to comply with that directive.
Okay, so that falls under purchased property services.
Yes, that's the most significant increase in that segment of the accounts.
Wait a minute, just need to find that again, non-technology, oil and gas.
54310. Then,
Yearly requirement.
No, it does.
another item which we talk about annually is 55610, tuition to other school districts. That is the tuition that we are required to pay under state law to the Met School, which is located in Newport, as well as the Newport County Career Vocational Center, which is located at Rogers. Next year, we have 15 students right now going to the Met School. It's really hard to project how many freshmen you're going to get because you just simply don't know, but based on 15 students, that increase, along with the increase in the tuitions from Newport, represents that 18.5% increase. And with the Met School, next year, 100% of our state aid that we get per student goes to the Met School. So what's the number, 15,000?
Yeah, what Ryan did is, in the past, the towns weren't charged for the students that went to the Met School. And when the funding formula came in 5 years ago, they supposedly adjusted the aid, and then they started charging for Met School tuitions. And they started at 20%, and then went 20, 40, 60, 80. And this year, the year that we're presenting, is going to be the first year that we're being charged 100% of the per pupil cost for the Met School students. So that the increases due to that should stop after 2016.
And for those of us who don't know, the Met School is,
It's not a charter school, it's considered a state school, like the Davies Vocational Career Center. A lot of people think it's a charter school, but it's a state school that accepts students from, Rhode Island divides the state up into regions, and that services our region, which is Region 2.
so the Met School provides services that Rogers doesn't and we don't.
It's just an alternative high school, and I don't mean that in any way, it's a high school. And they have different strategies, it's not what you call a traditional high school. Rogers offers vocational education programs that we can't offer here at Tiverton. So you have Rogers in the Voc Center, which is probably what we're more familiar with, automotive, cosmetology courses, things like that. The med school, they have their own curriculum, their own way of providing the curriculum and so on and so forth.
But why, I don't understand, I guess I don't know.
Internships too, the
They
internship.
do internships.
How do you qualify for
You just apply.
And how does the cost for that per student compare to our cost per student?
The state's objective is to charge us what our per pupil cost is.
Which isn't fair, because we build in our special ed costs, all our transportation costs. They don't have those costs, but they're getting the full per pupil, and it's really inequitable. So districts that send students to these types of schools, they lose that state aid, they lose all of it. And even though they may not have the special ed issues, special needs costs, transportation costs, athletic, extracurricular activities, that all goes into the per pupil. I don't believe that per pupil is what we're paying per pupils.
So if we have a child, one of our Tiverton children qualifies,
It's not qualified, they just apply.
they apply and they're accepted, then, and they go to the med school,
Yep.
then we pay the med school,
Our state aid per pupil. In other words, right now, for this year, it's 75% of our per pupil cost. Next year, we pay the Met our full per pupil cost as determined by RIDE.
okay, and it comes right out of the state aid.
No, they literally bill us.
No, they bill us, and then we pay them. But it's like, you don't get that money now. You're paying it out, it's going out the door.
And it comes out of the state aid?
The theory is they're giving us the state aid for it, and we're cutting a check to the med school to cover the.
We don't get extra money.
How is that, that sounds like nightmare accounting to me.
Well, it's because it's state. It's state. They're the boss.
The Superintendent's Association at the state level is working with the General Assembly to try to make it more equitable,
Okay.
to make that tuition cost more real to what their costs are versus what our costs are.
Well, the unusual thing is that each sending district is paying a different tuition rate based on their per pupil cost.
Right, Newport students are paying a much higher rate than we are, and, there's Portsmouth, there's Middletown, so they get, wherever those kids come from, they get a different dollar amount.
What was the reason for the origin of that?
Alternative pathways for students to learn.
Of learning?
Yeah.
So are these students who can't or don't effectively learn in the way things are taught in the various high schools?
I would say they do learn. I'd say it's just a different methodology, different approach. It's less structured than it is in the public schools. That's probably the best way to describe it.
Does the med school have the same wide educational requirements?
I believe they're supposed to follow the BEP.
Are they? Okay.
I want to say they're supposed to. They take the same state assessments, that our students take. So. I found that item that I was confused on. It's on page 1, where I lost my track. It's on the bottom.
Yes.
53222. I knew I had it written down right. You see it increases by $14,000.
Yeah.
That item is a new item really in the budget, because the school committee, based on my recommendation and on Mr. Fazzette's recommendation, is that we're trying to expand our learning opportunities for students, offering online courses for the first time. And the online cost is $10,000, so of that 14, 10 is to be able to use that online software package.
Is this for the AP?
Initially be for students who take AP courses. Eventually, though, once we get used to it, and the students and parents get used to it, we would like to expand it for other courses that we don't offer, that we can't offer. I'll give an example. My daughter's at Portsmouth. I've told this story 100 times, and she's so embarrassed by it, but she takes an online international business course that's not offered in Portsmouth's curriculum because they simply don't have the staff. And she loves it. It's very challenging for her. It's not an AP class, but it will count as a business class for her on her transcript. So eventually, I'd like to see us expand just beyond the AP realm, but that's where we're going to start. And that's what that number represents.
So
I'm sorry?
is this a cost to set it up, or this is?
It's the software, it's the cost for the software. It won't cost us anything with staffing right now, the way we project it, because we'll be dealing with a small number of students initially.
That might be worth mentioning, though, if you split up the classes.
Yeah, as we expand, the program allows, if you dedicate a teacher to teach an online course, you're going to get 25 free seats. So you don't have to pay for 25 students to take it. So, of course, the issue is then, you're giving up one of your good teachers, you're giving up a period, and to save over here. So we're not there yet, but, there is that possibility to be able to have teachers teach an online course and then reap benefits on the other side.
That same page, the
Sure.
53302, curriculum development, why that drop?
I believe I'll touch on it again. That's okay, we spend a lot of money, we've been spending funds to get our curriculum changed over to align it to the Common Core standards in math and science. And we spend a lot of money on training our staff. It's in this year.
You see it in the first column because it's occurring this year.
Next year, we don't believe we're going to need as much training for our staff. We don't think we didn't need it, so therefore there's a reduction. So that's what that represents. I'm back on page 2 of 3. Right below the tuition to other school districts, account 55630, special ed tuition to private sources. These are tuitions for students who have special needs, who can't be serviced within Newport County Regional Special Education. We have a number of what's called in-house programs in Newport, they want to join us, Tiverton, Middletown, Little Compton, and you've been reading in the paper, Portsmouth won't be with us much longer, but we share programs within the region to help these students that really need extra support. This line item is for students who we can't service. There's students that need services at Bradley or other institutions that are either in Rhode Island or Massachusetts. The decrease is because we've had fewer students. That represents less students that need services, so that's a good thing. So that's why you see the savings. That it's a simple, we don't have as many students.
Right. You're 90% positive that you won't have as many
We
students?
know we don't have, we know.
Yeah, the trends are where to start. We're starting to see what happens this year, and then based on what our forecast.
And he doesn't allow it to go until for 2 years, to really make sure we're confident, because you can get students to arrive, and it's always fluid. It could change between now and, I don't know, tomorrow, John knows, right?
Yeah.
Depends on what family moves in, the needs they have, bam, blows your budget out. But right now, we've been seeing a trend for 2 years, and we're pretty confident, that's where we are right now, and that's where we think we'll be, moving forward.
And Portsmouth leaving
Yep.
is, how is that going to impact us?
It's not.
It won't?
Now, we've reorganized the 3 districts, and we have all this, we're going to be offering all the same programs that we offered with 4 of us.
You really see that on the next line. That's the Newport regional allocation that we pay. And you can see that it was a 4.9% increase. Historically, we averaged about a 5% increase on that line, so we're not expecting any additional cost because of Portsmouth's removal.
Okay.
Can I just back up a minute?
Sure.
On the private, payments to special needs students? For example, parent wants to send their child to Bradley, or maybe, so they are accepted at Meeting Street or enrolled, et cetera, and the town picks up that.
Well, what has to happen is a student who's having trouble learning, there's a whole process that we have to follow. We have what's called a response to intervention program, where the teachers work with other teachers on methodologies to try to see if there's something else can be done before qualifying them for special education. Once, if a child qualifies for special needs services, the need of the student determines where the child will go. So depending on what the disability is the child has, kind of dictates to the team, which is a team of teachers, educators, and the parent. They all have to agree and say, this is the best placement for my child. So it might be Union Street, it might be Bradley in Portsmouth, it might be Bradley in East Providence.
Assuming they can't be serviced locally.
And that's the last resort. In other words, if we can't service them in the region, that's when, we go through RTI first, classroom interventions, then, okay, we qualify them, then what programs do we offer in the region, can we support them with? If that doesn't work, then you get to that point.
How much is that dictated by psychologists outside the people working with this child who make that decision?
It's made by educators. It's a team of educators that make the decision. Outside, doctor, child is diagnosed with autism. Obviously the doctors, parents will have, doctors' recommendations and things, and that's weighted in, but outside people don't tell the team what to do. The team decides what to do based on the evidence that they have in front of them. So parent, and most parent, in other words, people I think have this perception, parents with children with special needs just come and say, I want my kid to go here and you've got to give it to me. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way at all. It's a very layered process, a very arduous process to get students qualified now for special education services. If I could just go to the third page, and Mr. You already do it, it's towards the bottom third, account 57-311, tech software.
Following up on one of the questions that Mr. Souza had, that's just where our Microsoft licensing charges get accumulated. So there's not a significant change there. You see the increase because we've been somewhat lagging in our budget there, and we're just reflecting that to meet our actual expense number.
And we are buying two smaller software packages. One is to help our tech director monitor the bandwidth to maximize our efficiency. Also serves as a filter. It's called iBoss. And we're also going to be expanding technology at the elementary level, and we're going to be bringing in what's called a Type to Learn software program to help our students at the elementary level get more acclimated with computers, and that's going to be taught by our librarian. And the third is a food service. As far as food service provider, we need to buy a new server. So that's also built
In that
into
tech
there.
software line?
What's that?
The new server?
Well, the server, I believe, is in that.
We went over to the capital.
Okay, I jumped to capital, sorry.
That's okay. I was just looking because, you're right, last year, there was no increase in that tech
Right.
software. It was just flatline at 6,200, so.
And just in summary, we're laying off 4 teachers. We're laying off our fifth person is our community service coordinator. They're not a teacher, but they do work with our students. We will be adding 3 2/5 positions, one at the high school in math, 1 2/5 math position at the middle school, and 1 2/5 science at the high school and middle school. I said math at the high school, I meant science. Those are part-time positions that we're using to help improve our students' achievement in math and science. And we're also going to be hiring a part-time aide in the library to help out with the technology, but that's all been balanced off by laying off the teachers. So in the PowerPoint, if you take a look at it, you'll see mention of those. They get washed out because of the savings we get from the layoffs. So that's really the budget in a nutshell.
A subject near and dear to my heart. All-day K.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Would you go through that? I have it here highlighted, in big bold print.
No, that's fine.
In the budget, we also have money for all-day K, to start an all-day K program, to hire 3 additional kindergarten teachers and 6 part-time aides. to run the program. We have the cost breakdown for you, I believe, in the PowerPoint presentation. In the first year,
Wait,
it's...
let's just let everybody find it. It's
When you do this all the time, you forget to
maybe 10 pages.
live and breathe this stuff.
The cost breakdown. Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of information here on all day K, why to have it, and this is what we went review with the school committee when they approved to put it in the budget. We have, again, in order to run it, we have the breakdown, and I'm just going to get to it myself. We believe we're going to need, not need, but we're going to need 3 teachers, and we estimated them at step 5. School benefits, you can see the cost there. The cost of the part-time assistants for a total of $261, $271. We save on our midday bus runs, because right now we have to run midday buses. Those you don't have to run anymore if you have all-day K. We're going to get additional state aid, because we'll have those part-time students now become full-time, so you get a benefit when they do the recalculation. So in the first year, all-day K costs, if you wanted to just say, if someone asks how much it costs, $126,000. In year 2, the cost decreases to $369 because of the increase in state aid that you get.
Now, why would the increase in state aid occur in year 2?
Because that's how they pay it out.
It basically lags a year of your pupil count.
Okay.
Yeah, everything, like when you see data online, it's always a year or 2 behind. It's never in real time. And we do the funding the same way.
So the state would increase the aid not because they are full-time students, not necessarily because we get a bonus because we're doing
Correct.
full-time
There's no-
kindergarten?
No, it's just part of the funding formula.
Okay.
Can I ask, so the hours for all-day K would be until when the rest of school gets out?
For the elementary, we run the elementary schedule, that's correct.
Okay. Was there any thought to having it, is it optional, or would people,
No,
anyone
it would
going to
be-
kindergarten would have to do it?
Everyone would do it.
And was there any consideration to having it be, I guess my one thought I had, and it's a little, I mean, you still might save on bus runs, but it seems like a lot of the motivation for this was to help kids who were not receiving the benefit either, I think you mentioned the power plant, of home, or other kinds of schools they went to, and I'm just wondering what the effect would be on these same students who do happen to get that benefit from home. They'll now be in school.
Well, you have, to answer your question, no, we never considered that, because the benefits we believe that can be gained, right now, the 70% of kindergarten students in the state have a head start on our kids, because they have full-day K. They're in there all day learning, and it's just not academics, it's socialization, especially at that age, as you know. Socialization's a big thing, so even though at home you may be having a mom or whoever is working with the children, and how it was with my daughter, the biggest thing my daughter had to deal with was socialization. She had the academic background, but because she was not an only child, but no siblings near her age, she had to do that adjustment into the public, and she did fine academically, but she would have benefited if she was able to go all day versus a half day. So
But some kids may not.
most students do. And I'll say that their data shows that students will do better in the long run academically, because the child's getting academic being taught. They're not at kindergarten, they're not Mr. Cabral and Mrs. Donnelly Roach and Mrs. Rodell. Why don't you want to speak to what the new kindergarten looks like, what it K means?
Basically, what all-day K is going to bring, is going to bring off, the curriculum that's changing in the Common Core is bringing everything down to grade level. So our K students are required, under the new Common Core curriculum, to do grade 1.
Can I interrupt, Manny, and ask you to go to so that the camera, because the people will want to know.
Just introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening. I'm Mr. Cabral, I'm Ranger School Principal. This is Ms. Wardell, she's Fort Barton Principal, and Amy Donnelly Roach is our Curriculum Coordinator. A lot of our discussions around all-day K was discussion as far as what students need, and as far as Mr. Rurik's already mentioned, 70% of the students in Rhode Island are in all-day K programs. With the change to Common Core, the Common Core curriculum is moving everything down at least one grade level to a grade level and a half. So what our K kids are expected to know at the end of kindergarten is what we presently expect our first graders to know. Compounding that is half-time, with the students only coming half-time, our K teachers are trying to catch up to teach what the students really need in 6.5 hours in 3 hours. So as the curriculum changes, as the requirements get more stringent, the students need more academic time.
Hi, I'm Suzette Wardell, principal of Fort Barton School, and one of the most important things that we can do for children of a kindergarten age level is they learn the best through play. So when we give them the opportunity to have the 6-hour school day, we can give them the opportunities to experience learning through more of a play situation rather than trying to take the 6-hour curriculum and reduce it down to a 3-hour time period, which is what we're trying to do right now. So if you go into a kindergarten period right now, all of the learning, it's a very frenetic pace, kindergarten right now, and by extending it to a full day, it's going to give children more of a relaxed pace where they can have more play time, where they'll be able to do more center time, and it will really be more aligned to the national kindergarten standards. And we feel it will be much more developmentally appropriate for children.
Amy, you want to add anything?
Hi, I'm Amy Donnelly-Roach, Curriculum Director. Just to add briefly onto what was said, some of the folks who are most excited about the opportunity to have full-day K are our first grade teachers, who are teaching first grade and half of kindergarten. So you have to realize that, as Mr. Rurik said, over 70% of students in Rhode Island already are starting first grade with a full year of full-day kindergarten. And to stay up with those expectations, the first grade teachers are very excited to plan upon having kids experience truly a full day of kindergarten and come to first grade at first grade level. So you'll see in the presentation materials that we currently have some first graders who start first grade and already need the response, the interventions that Mr. Rurik spoke about. And there's a percentage in there, I think it's 16% in one of the content areas of our first graders start first grade already needing supplemental help.
And those are general education students, those aren't students...
They're not children with disabilities.
They're general ed kids that have those gaps, and that's, we put it in here to show the committee and the general public, this is, the need is there, and the benefits, and we just cited a couple of the studies, Lee and Burkham, and then Pryan, we have many more studies that show the standard, the data shows that students perform better academically with full day K. And we felt, because of everything, all our favorability in our budget, we felt now is the time to bring it forward.
Have parents been supportive of this?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, and as Ms. Bordell alluded to, that social emotional learning and the habits of learning, it's a great opportunity to capitalize on how eager 5- and 6-year-olds are to learn, so that when they're starting full-day K, they haven't missed half of kindergarten, but they also already know the rituals and routines of school and can fully participate all day, whereas right now they start first grade the way kids in other towns might be starting kindergarten, by needing a nap and by being exhausted by 10:30, because it is very rigorous.
It's actually a lot easier for parents. My 3 kids went full-day K, and it's easier for parents.
I got one question. How are you going to know what new students you're going to pick up? In other words, because you say a lot of them go out to other schools for the first...
Based on the data that we've been able to collect from RIDE, that RIDE collects, we believe we'll have enough space. Because we built the elementary schools, Each school has 2 kindergarten classrooms built to the state specs. So we built that with the goal of always hoping to have 2 full-time classes at each of our elementaries. And our numbers right now, even, we'd have to see a serious spike for us to not be able to hold them for next year. But it is always tricky with kindergarten in every district because you do have students that, for whatever reason, don't show up at the daycare centers or whatever, they're home with mom and dad. Those you can't account for, but based on the data we received from RIDE, we're confident that we'll be able to hold the program.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak? May I have a moment? No? Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, welcome to all the new members, and I thank all the staff for coming because they're the ones that get things done. Now, when we speak of budgets, we speak of numbers and what we spend, but the community wants to know what we're spending their hard-earned money on. So I have a quick number of things here that I'll mention, and the first one will be our student assistance counselor that we have, which is beyond a guidance counselor. She works with anxiety and divorce and depression and all that, bereavement. She has a bereavement group for anyone who's had parents that passed away. It's fabulous. Then everyone knows we built the boats. And not only do they build the boats, but they get credentialing for that. They go to IRIS, they don't just build a boat and sell it. It's an amazing program. We work with the Marine Department and everything. Then we built the electric car. You all saw that on television. Then the second year, we turned it into solar, and we put all high-tech stuff on it. So the article was not your daddy's voc-ed. So what our goal is to have Tiverton High School be a comprehensive public high school where we have culinary arts, and we do all these things so that our children won't feel the need to go someplace else. So that's our goal. A lot of places cut that. When I go upstate, they say, oh, we scored highest on the kneecap. And I said, well, how did you do it? And they said, well, we cut all these other programs. And I said, well, not over my dead body. We could go on, but then we can do it after that. And then we have the middle school, had the artists come, and we have unified basketball, which is the children with special needs that are on the teams. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I sat in the stands with a father, and he said, he had tears coming down, and I said, what's the matter? And his son's name was Bubba. He was huge, going up and down the court, crashing into everybody. He said, Mrs. Black, twice a week, we're a normal family. We get on the bus from Pontiac or wherever we come from, we all come together, and Tiverton High School has been amazing with that, bringing all the regular students and those students together. We have famous Cohog Man that was here at the town hall. He went to Ballard Park. That was our art department. Set for Success is what the thing says, and that's our goal at graduation. We have Tiger Pride, and then we have the Fort Barton School, of course, getting the Blue Ribbon School and National Honor. We have all 3 elementary schools with bronze awards for the health and wellness because we serve such good food. Rhode Island has the highest nutrition standards in the country, and our 3 schools have them. So that's fabulous. So Chartwell's does that. Ranger School had a grandfriend dinner, and I went with my grandchildren. It was so much fun. All the grandparents came to dinner. And then we had Pennsylvania, the band went and got 100%. The Tiger Vikings went, we partnered with Rogers because we didn't have enough kids for the lacrosse season. And I didn't know what I was going to do because Tiger went with me and he said, oh, I'm not rooting for Rogers, I'm sorry. So I said, no, you got to be good today because we're going there together. So I sprayed a big gold shield and it said on it, Tiger Vikings, and I took it to the game and we all celebrated. That was so much fun. And then we have grads above all, this is my favorite, Be Kind. And that's what we try to do in Tiverton High School is set the climate to care for each other. And Good Deeds After School, that was at the middle school. And this is the parents all getting together, helping us, wonderful PTOs. So these are just a few of the things that we're trying to do in the K through 12 system that's beyond what you see in those numbers books. And so thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Sally.
Now, my second career when I retired from the Navy was in education as a business manager. And one of the things that always amazed me, and I've worked in at least 20 different school districts in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, is the lack of publicity, the lack of promotion that school departments are guilty of. They don't do a good job of promoting to the public what they do. And we've seen a couple of them, and Sally mentioned them, the boat building, the car, those are all in the newspaper, but there's so many other things in the hands-on area that students do. I fully admit, before I got into the education community, vocational education was where kids went and couldn't hack it academically. And then I got to see what Durfee does as a comprehensive high school, and Plymouth South High School does as a comprehensive high school. And when we see the home building program, when you see the electrical program, the CAD/CAM programs, using CAD/CAM software, and what the students can do, it's absolutely remarkable, and it doesn't get publicized. And I think that's good, Sally, that you mentioned those, because they're an integral part of the education process, and I think we do a pretty good job of it.
One program that we failed to mention is our STEAM program that we're started this year, and we'll be expanding next year through our Tech Ed program to introduce engineering principles to students. And as you mentioned, John, when I was growing up, Tech Ed was viewed that way as well, as, quote, kids who couldn't learn. It's not that way at all. It's open to all students, and it's the courses are very challenging, and I say this with all sincerity, I wish I had access to those kind of programs when I was a kid, because I was in the, quote, college track and never really, and now I'm paying $200 for someone to come fix my boiler, or do my roof, or do my deck. And those skills are still needed in today's society, and to tie it to high academic standards, and that's what comprehensive high schools are doing more and more.
I have a rather mundane.
Okay, try to give you a less than mundane answer.
In what account is the bus contract?
That would be in our transportation line item, which is 5511 on page 2 or 3.
Two-thirds of the way down.
Right under purchase property services, 55,
Okay.
transportation
Our
contracts.
contract is up at the end of this year, so we're hoping to negotiate somewhere in the vicinity of a 2% increase. It is out, it is going to go out for bid. The reason you see
Increase or decrease?
the reason you see a decrease on that line item is in conjunction with the all-day K, where we won't need the midday bus runs.
Yeah. I guess what I was getting at, Mr. Fiore, was with the price of fuel going down, and that has to be a large component of any bus contract. So you read about Delta Airlines and Southwest having record profits because of fuel costs. I would think that would be, reflected in the bus contract.
What's happened now is because there is such a risk for the transportation contractors with the volatility of fuel, is we usually have a clause where if it rises or decreases, we get an extra bill, and unfortunately, last year, we paid a lot more than we had the previous year. We're going to bear the fruit of that this year, where we're not going to have any fuel escalation clause. I actually went back and looked when we signed
So
it.
the fuel de-escalation.
There is, but in fact, I was starting to look for that on my bills, didn't see it, did some research, and fuel right now is about where it was when we signed the contract, so it's kind of a break even, but that's how the bus companies protect themselves, as do we if there's a sudden decrease.
And we do bid the contract, our transportation, with neighboring districts. So, like we do with our oil and all our utilities, we don't simply go it alone.
We've proved with the resources of the other East Bay communities.
What schools are serviced by natural gas?
You know that one.
Fort Cassett and Fort Barnard, the Ranger Middle School, High School,
Our oil.
don't have the ability to.
Any negotiations on the table for next year, or
Everybody's up, all three, teachers, Council 94, and administrators.
for next school year?
Yes. It's in there.
Did you build on?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, we did.
okay.
For all three.
I won't ask you.
That accounts, that's in that number.
Okay.
Can I go back to all-day K before I
Sure.
ask my mundane question?
That's good.
I know it was asked how the parents were receptive, if they were excited about all-day K. I need to get a sense of how much this was discussed, because I've not been paying the attention I should have been paying. When the school committee had these discussions, I presume that they were well-attended, and got a lot of feedback from the public.
Since '07.
Yes, they have been. We had at least, guys, refreshment, at least 3. Okay. What do we have?
3 what?
They were on the agenda for this, right?
We had 3 discussions.
One big meeting, right, with the PTOs and the parents attended, all in favor of all, including the teachers.
And we've also put it in our school newsletters.
Okay, so there's broad knowledge that this is happening. This is not going to be something new that comes out with the budget.
Well, like anything else, even when you send it out, there'll be the sky could fall tomorrow, and some people will wake up and go, hey, what happened?
This is also a discussion we've been having for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yes, a number of years.
I first put it out in '07 on the schedule.
So it's been a discussion that's been ongoing for a long time, and funding is the only thing that stopped it from happening.
Right, which is why people will start paying attention, because it's on the budget.
Correct.
The funding part about it is one thing. The education is another thing. But there's an awful lot of parents who love it because it's all day, working parents. Don't have to worry about daycare. It affects their pocketbook. And that's one reason you really get parents excited about all day. That's kind of not the school department's mission, okay? But it's a reality. It's a reality that really helps support the program.
I think it will be well received.
Oh, I have no doubt.
I guess you've been talking about it for a long time.
A long time. Number of years. At least since '07.
'07, I put it on the agenda. And then it was always not enough for me.
I have a couple more. Sorry. We talked at length the past couple of years about the new testing and the computers that were required for the new testing. Where does that stand?
We didn't buy any new computers because of testing.
Well, remember we had the discussion with the new state?
Right. We're the only district in the state that's doing paper and pencil.
Good.
So, we're number 1 in something, right?
Right, but there was
We were talking, we still need to replace some of our computer labs, but because I was out in my injury at the start of the year, and now we're in the budget cycle, we've just been so busy with other items, we haven't talked about with the committee, how do we replace the labs we have.
Right, it wasn't, I'm not talking about, the regular and the given that we need computers, we always need upgrades, and we do want to have better technology. But specifically, there was some round of testing that was requiring us to have so many computers because the kids couldn't take them at the same time.
That's this year. We believed, because the Department of Ed kept fluctuating with their answers, we were under the assumption that they were going to have to take it online. So that's where that discussion derived itself. Subsequently, over time, I backed off of that and said, at least for this coming year that we're in now, you can do paper and pencil. Now, we're hoping that it will still be paper and pencil next year. They haven't told us they wouldn't keep doing that, but we still have to upgrade. That conversation was buying more than our replacement costs.
Exactly.
So we're not having those conversations, and we don't plan on having them in the foreseeable future, but beyond what we need to replace.
Is this a state mandated testing? Or they're not offering to pay for the equipment you need to do it?
No, that's why we were...
That was the position of the committee. Well,
No, we had
we had a lengthy
discussion
yes, we
over
did.
the past couple of years. Before I get to capital, just on the last page, gas, they were going down 15%. Are you don't use the gas pump at the DPW? You do?
What we do every year for gas analysis is the state produces an average cost statewide, and we put the budget together generally at the end of December. We just use that amount. And for gasoline, it was $2.53. I'm sorry,
You were just going to say what I wanted to know.
Was basically what our contract is, it's in June, we're at June the 8th.
The diesel?
Diesel, that's just built into our gas number because the only thing that's, actually we don't have any diesel anymore. Our school
Oh, it's
district
zero.
used to be.
Well, it's zero change, it's just a placeholder. Well, it's a placeholder, okay.
Also, yeah. I think the generator is a nominal.
Well, you have a line item for it, but it's,
That's the backup generator.
okay. Could you run through the capital for us, please, so that we know what we're getting and
Sure.
not getting and...
I'm in the PowerPoint part, probably back third.
It's towards the back of the PowerPoint. Just go, it's the end of the PowerPoint, before the line item budget capital request.
Yep. At the high school, behind the high school, there's metal railings that have been marked off. The students can't go near them because they're wobbly, and a student could literally fall down the embankment off the patio behind the cafeteria. This item and the next item, and I'll identify them, some are not part of the health and safety issues. The first two here were not. The art tables at the high school are currently literally breaking apart. We would like to replace 16 of them. This is a health and safety. We need to replace the door to the alternate entrance. If you think of the high school and there's the entrance that everyone walks through, there's also another entrance to the right where there's 4 sets of doors. That's the alternate entrance. Those need to be replaced.
And that, when you say health and safety, it comes from the facility study?
Yes.
Okay.
We sealed the flue on top of the chimney. What we did was we had a mason go through the high school, the exterior. This one isn't, and again, I'll keep identifying those that aren't.
Okay.
This was done by the mason that gave us the estimate to reseal the flue on top of the chimney at the high school in the back. Number 5 is a facilities report recommendation, install split ductless AC units in the tech ed computer lab. Replace pneumatic controls in the boiler room at the high school. That was a recommendation from the facilities.
What are pneumatic controls?
I don't know. That's why I wish I had more tech ed classes.
Hair operator.
They're part of our heating system, I believe.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. Install 588 water fountains. That was part of the report. The mason recommended repointing the furnace chimney.
And that would be also where the flue would be?
Yes.
So,
Separate work, but yes.
all right, so that was the, okay.
Flash and caulk 100 feet along the exterior part of the gym wall where the stucco meets the brickwork. Again, this was from the mason, as was number 10, repair the brickwork.
Is this all or part of what we've discussed in past years about? Okay. So this goes toward fixing some of the...
These are the exterior part that, they're not health and safety, but they need to be replaced to keep the building functional. Number 11, replace and rebuild 6 courses of brick. Again, when you see brick and chimney, I think you get the idea that's from the mason estimate. At the middle school, we need to purchase new stools for our tech ed classroom. The item 2, 1588 water fountains, comes from the facility study. We need to purchase art supplies for the art program. We classified them as a capital request.
Why would you do that?
I'll have to turn that over to Doug.
Use supplies for the art program?
Isn't that an operating kind of?
No, that was, remember that was the...
The kiln?
Yes, that was a capital purchase for pottery.
Okay.
Replace the dampener actuators in the generator room, and no, Laura, I don't know what those are.
But that would be facilities?
That's facilities as well as the pneumatic control in the generator room at the middle school. Refurbish the unit ventilators in the library, that was from the study. Remove the greenhouse, and for those of you who aren't aware, there was a greenhouse, or is a greenhouse on top of the middle school roof that's no longer used. recommend for health and safety that it be removed and the roof be made weather-tight. Rot-out sealant at the expansion joints on the sidewalks and reseal them, that was a health and safety, that came from the report.
How long has it been since we did the middle school roof?
That's part of the facilities report. That's a bigger ticket item.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we should...
And the high school roof.
Okay.
You got a cool million sitting around? $1,500,000 for each. Those are the numbers we're looking at. At Ranger, Fort Barton, and Pecasset, the emergency lighting systems need to be replaced
Why?
because they're not working to the level they should be working at.
What are emergency lighting?
When the power goes out, the lights come on, so firemen can enter the building, or police, if there's an emergency. And you can
Evacuate.
And you can evacuate if you lose your lights.
I don't mean to say anything, but am I just getting old and the years go by so fast? Didn't we just build these schools?
But the company came in and recommended that these be done. And then the facility subcommittee went through it and recommended that we do this. So, yeah, they need to, they work, but we keep fixing them and we need to replace them, according to our experts.
Is that something that can be paid out over time?
It's a health and safety issue. You need to do them, you would need to do them all. You want your emergency light.
Yeah.
That was an item that we felt we could pay for ourselves, well, you know, in a short period of time, because we have the funds in our fund balance.
In the contract you had for whoever built them,
It's past the time of the warranty period, it's over.
And they work.
And they work, it's just that
Is this like?
They're not-
they're not working to the
Have the
level.
regulations changed, that they need to work differently, or?
I'd have to turn it over to our experts. I don't have the facility study. They have a breakdown as to what the explanation is, but...
I would imagine it's something that they're required by fire and safety to have.
And it was rated as a high issue to get done. It wasn't a low priority, it was a high priority.
From a facility study?
This is a low.
No, high, that's
High,
why.
it was highly recommended, a priority.
Cost is the highest. Budgetary amounts too.
And these are, and while those are high, they're very small compared to the other items
Oh, yeah, I
that
know.
the committee
I don't want to know.
has to wrestle with, so...
I already know.
Yeah, yes, you do.
Unfortunately.
You've seen, you've read the end of the book.
Yes, exactly. It's not pretty.
Okay. And then the technology,
And that's what I talked about
Right.
before. Okay, and Doug shifted that into operations number 3, the AP course. We did have it
okay.
we did originally have it in capital, but since our
During that,
last,
put it in the operating.
since our last meeting, we shifted
thank you,
it.
Doug.
Bill,
Yes.
when you mentioned the late spring before, is it late spring that you will be in a better position for final numbers?
I believe by then, we have the dollar amounts. By that timeline, what I'm talking about is the school committee will have had time themselves to say, this is what we need to get done, here, 1 through 20. And then be comfortable to sit down with the budget committee and the council and go through 1 through 20, you know, and then explain it. So I believe it'd be late spring for that.
Like, what's late spring, April?
April, May? These items, the items that we're talking about are not something that can go into an operational budget, the cost. That's why they're not part of our presentation. They are so high, there's no way they can be absorbed in either the town's operational budget or the school department's it's just too
So is it fair to
expensive.
say that you might be thinking about paying it through a bond issue?
It's something that we'd have to discuss as
Yeah,
the
I
three
know,
members,
I
yes.
mean,
Yes, realistically, that's what we'd have to
You're talking about roofs and that type of...
Roofs,
boilers?
yes, heating systems, boilers, yeah.
Well, how long has it been since the high school was built?
High school's 47 years, 48 years now, 49 years. 1966, right? 49 years, and the middle school was 76.
I can remember the fight.
Maybe you can explain why the driveway stops in the back.
I'm not that old.
Didn't want to pay for the rest of it to be finished. Yes?
The online courses for AP,
Yep.
I was just wondering, is that for all the AP courses? Like
No, these, we'll still offer AP classes, but these are courses that we don't currently offer, things like economics, computer science. In other words, a student may be already taking AP courses that we ourselves can offer, but we don't have the expertise. Teachers aren't versed in it, but want to take computer science, an AP computer science, or an AP economics course. There's a number of them. It's for those types of classes that we don't
It's
currently
like a
offer.
cost-effective way of expanding your curriculum.
Right, and so, yes.
I mean, students go to BCC for free. Can't they go there and take the course rather than,
Not,
doing it now?
but BCC courses are not AP level. In other words, when you take an AP course in high school, it's to prep you to take an AP test. The whole purpose of taking an AP class is for the students to take the test in May, to pass it. So if they get a passing score of 3, it's on a scale of 1 to 5, they get a 3, 4, or 5. Most colleges, if you get a 3, certainly if you get a 4 or 5, students don't have to take those courses when they get to college. In other words, if I pass an AP US history class, I'll get that waived. Most universities will waive not a fine arts, but a social science course that you may have to take. So it saves parents money, because those are less courses the students have to take when they get to high school. But the courses that BCC offer are not the same academic quality.
Well, at UMass Dartmouth, can they take courses there? Is there some way we could?
Students can take courses there, but they'd have to pay for them.
Well,
At BCC, we have an arrangement where...
Is there any way to accelerate where they stop 11th grade and they stop going to college in 12th grade rather than?
There's been one student, since I've been principal since 1998, that graduated early, that had the academic wherewithal to meet all the requirements by the end of their junior year.
What would need to be done to?
You need 4 years of English.
Agreement with.
Well, it's not agreement, you still have to meet all the requirements that the school
How do you
offers.
do that? How could you do that?
You don't.
To accelerate?
You still have to take 4 years of English, 3 years of, because we have requirements that our students have to take.
The state.
Graduation requirements. Sure, go ahead, Steve.
We have a concurrent enrollment program, and I'm not sure if this is what you're referring to. We actually have something with BCC, CCRI, and Johnson and Wales,
Right.
where students, if they get recommended, and it's something that the family wants to do, they can enroll in that first year of college during their senior of high school, and we have a meeting to set up how everything is going to get satisfied. They enroll, they register, they pay for that first year of college. The agreement essentially satisfies that they are meeting all of our senior year requirements while there. So it does happen, yes, during that.
But it's a small group of students that
That's a
we're
very
talking
finite
about.
group of students that challenge themselves.
How would it be that we could go more in that direction? I'm under the understanding that there seems to be a disconnect when they go to college, like the community colleges. I'm being told there's a need for a lot of remedial. Are we meeting the needs of the colleges? Have you heard anything from the presidents of these colleges?
Yeah, I think you're
students aren't
probably
quite
referring to CCRI statistics that they put out throughout Rhode Island, for all Rhode Island schools. I believe it came out of Ride's office recently that number has actually dropped.
Well, what exactly, where are we on that percentage-wise?
I think that's really basic. We don't get that information because it's confidential, but they'll say anywhere from 60 to 70% of kids might need 1 or 2 remedial courses, whether it's math or English. Now, that depends on how many students you send there. and what the profile of that student is.
Isn't that kind of high? Don't you find that kind of high?
Well, first of all, people forget what community colleges, or at least junior colleges, are for. They're for two purposes. One is to help families who can't afford a four-year school to have their children get 2 years' worth of college credit at a lower cost, and then transfer their credits to a four-year institution. The other is to serve as to give kids to develop their skills so they can succeed at the college level. So while folks at CCRI may be saying these students need remedial support, they should, in many cases, because that's what they're there for.
Why is that? They should have had it in
No,
high school.
because some students, depending on what schools they come from, don't have the background or the skill set. So that's why many do go there, to get the skill set to be successful at the four-year institution. That's been going on since at least 30 years, 40 years since I've been, aware of going to college. It's been like that, to either lessen the cost of students to get the credits to transfer or to get the remedial support. That's how it's been.
Well, I'm not of the mind just because it has been that we should continue.
You're talking about a bigger issue that transcends our budget, quite frankly.
Can I ask just a couple of other
Certainly.
standard? At the bottom of page 3, I'm looking at the capital line item. So that, last year we had 31,000. Those were for the payments for the bleachers.
And the sound system at the middle school, so the
So what-
teachers are fully hours now, and the only remaining item is the sound system at the middle school.
Okay, so last year's payment was 6 of 6, and we pushed that one.
That's correct.
We made an error.
What did it say in the budget?
It said 5/5 of 6
Oh, yeah, we're
payments.
behind.
Okay, so, all right, so we only, and then we only have one more payment
For the sound system.
for the sound system.
Correct.
Okay, so this one is done. And then, what is the rest of your budget schedule? At some point, will you be making, I'm looking for a total number of the capital,
You have the
and,
total, but you have the total.
where?
It's 269,000, it's in the PowerPoint. It isn't?
Are you telling me I wasn't paying attention?
Say
No, I
that.
thought you had it, I apologize, I stand
That
corrected.
will require a vote.
No.
When a lot of the capital items that come out of our fund balance are proposed to, we just bring them as a courtesy to let you know how we're funding those expenses, but that's not part of our appropriation request.
Right. But in past years, we've put them down
That's
so that the people are aware that we are,
It's 269,000, but we'll have it for you.
And also in past years, you've done the nice rundown of fund balance so that we can see where, I presume you're going to be
Yeah,
doing it for
generally
the school
we start with the
committee.
audited number, but yeah, we've already done that internally for the school committee.
Now, once we have it, we can provide it, just send it to you.
That would be great. I
That's not a
would really
problem.
appreciate it. How it ties out is what I'm interested in seeing.
And I would assume if you had questions or whatever, you'd bring us back, right?
One of the things, I asked about this earlier, because having worked in 2 different states and 20 school systems, this is the first time I've seen a budget presented without some sort of revenue estimate. Describe the revenue estimate process and timeline.
Sure, there's 2 big components to our revenue. One is the state aid, and the other is the piece that's funded through the tax levy. So we do have an estimate of the state aid. We just didn't put the revenue, I think, comes through on the full binder that we provide to the committee, but we didn't have it in the summary for tonight. So per the state and the funding formula, our estimated state aid for next year is $5,980,785.
Wait a minute.
55980.
$5,980,785. So you can use that as a placeholder in your...
That's aid.
And that's why it's estimate?
Yes, and if it changes, I'll certainly let you know.
And they've been spot on.
Since the funding formula, it's been pretty accurate. There hasn't been a lot of variation. Things change though, and there's enrollment, there's all sort of data that goes into it, and they're continuously updating it. So, it may fluctuate slightly, but they've usually been pretty close.
And how much of an increase is that?
It's 3% over the current year.
3% over the current?
And we're one of the communities that
Still gets an increase. Our neighbors are taking.
But of course, if you're increasing, they don't give you the full amount up front, they're spreading it over time, whereas if you were losing
But
money.
for example, like Middletown, I think scheduled to lose 200+ thousand, Portsmouth, similar amount.
Regionals even more.
We appreciate their assistance in our financial issues.
I'm sure they'd like to hear that.
Is this the part you alluded to, the increase is mostly due to the increased number of people needing help with lunches and hot lunches?
That's part of the formula.
Yeah, just student enrollment.
Student enrollment supply, it's a very
Demographic data.
complicated formula that they use. They give you a base number of what each child is worth, I believe it's $8,800 or $8,500, and then they put in, number per pupil, of kids that free and reduced hot lunch factor into that, and
They work with municipal families.
it's a 6-step
I guess I'm just referring to your statement, the primary reason for the
Yep.
projected increase can be attributed to an increase in the number of students who are entitled to receive free or reduced hot lunch.
That helps increase it, that's correct.
It's about a $150,000 increase. Yes.
Yeah.
On the school housing aid, I assume that would say, sort of stay the same.
Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of change.
In that, yeah, okay.
And the only aid that the RIDE is giving is for health and safety.
So really,
They're not approving any new construction.
the only component of that is the debt, basically, for the funding of the school, so that doesn't vary much from year to year.
Yeah, it's pretty constant.
And the Fall River tuition is gone this,
No, we still have 2 students.
yeah. So that will be,
In fact, I just billed them this week. I can give you, I don't remember off the top of my head
It's a
what
small-
it was, but yeah, it's gone from probably
6 figures.
down to 2. And no further students are being grandfathered in. They're letting these students go through the system now.
right, but we'll need something for that
Sure.
line item. That would be appreciated. What kind of, 1, 2, 3. I presume you and the school committee have ongoing budget discussions. How fluid is this document? Is this pretty much put to bed?
From right now.
Yeah,
Unless we get a game changer in state aid or healthcare or something,
it's dramatically different than what we anticipated.
this is pretty much it.
Okay, so should we schedule a further meeting, or,
I would recommend that we send you the documents that we just talked about, once we get them, and then if you need clarification, we'll be happy to come back.
okay.
We don't want to take your time up either, but we'll certainly want to explain it to you.
That 100% is great.
Thanks.
Yeah, we're very happy with that.
Any more questions?
You all set?
Not now.
Yeah.
Bill, thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
For all the hard work, that was a great presentation. Thank you, everyone. And again, any questions come up, like John, you just email Doug or I, and we'll
I'll find out what Bob lives.
I can tell you, it's right off exit 2 in Swansea.
Okay, this is the budget committee.
Are we going to take a break?
I just need to, if you want to take a break, we can, but I was just going to take a walk. Break, and it ends up taking 15, 20 minutes longer.